Hi everyone, I've gotten a lot of questions about leotards and tights and just general ballet equipment, so I decided to make a whole video dedicated to it. So thank you everybody for asking your questions because they have inspired today's video. And let's start from top down. So we'll start with hair accessories and then we'll end at talking about ballet shoes. So for the classical ballet bun, you will definitely need some hairpins. My favorite types of hairpins are from Bunhead. These pins are really heavy duty and great for bun making. I've had these pins for almost 10 years and I've had no problems. I have tried the thinner and less expensive pins, but honestly, they never did as good as a job and they end up getting damaged or tarnished or somehow unusable at the end of the day. But the Bunhead pins, I promise you, will last you so long. The next thing that you will need for your bun is some hairnets. So I have my hairnets from Bunheads. The hairnet is definitely not necessary. It's an optional thing, but I love using a hairnet because I have layers in my hair and I have random pieces of hair sticking out all the time, and the hairnet just really helps clean up my bun. You usually get 3 hairnets in one pack, and I would highly recommend getting more than one pack because they are not very durable. I get holes in my hairnets quite often, and I probably go through maybe 10 or 12 a year. So now let's move on to something more exciting, leotards and tights. So before I start blabbing, I just want to put it out there that leotards and tights are definitely not mandatory for open adult classes the majority of the time. They are very form-fitting and not everyone feels comfortable wearing them in class, which is completely okay. Definitely wear whatever you feel the most comfortable in and don't feel pressure to do anything else. So let's start with the leotard. They're the things that look like a one-piece bathing suit, and you usually do not wear a bra under them. Most leotards have a built-in bra, but they're not what you would consider to be a conventional bra. Most of the time, they're just a flesh-toned piece of fabric. If you want extra support, you can of course always wear a bra under your leotard, but you can also do some research and look for leotards with real built-in bras. You might have to go to a store to try them on because a lot of leotards will claim that they have built-in bras, but they usually don't. It's just an extra thin piece of fabric that does absolutely nothing to support you. So some inexpensive leotard brands that I personally really love are Natalia, Gaynor, Minden, and Wear Moi. These are really big brands that have a lot of really interesting designs, and I like that some of them have very diverse sizing. I would highly recommend that you get one leotard per ballet class that you take per week and an extra one on top of that. So if you have 4 ballet classes every single week, you should get 4 leotards and 1 extra, so in total you should have 5 leotards. My extra tip on leotards is I personally really love wearing lighter colors. I wouldn't recommend for beginners to start with a very light colored leotard. I'm not sure what it is about lighter colored leotards. Maybe it's that they don't really hide shadows very well, so you feel like everyone can see everything all the time. I have a white colored leotard that I've owned for many years that I have worn probably less than 5 times. It is a gorgeous leotard, but I always feel so revealed when I'm in it. Everything really has to align for me to feel good about wearing the leotard, because otherwise I end up in ballet class feeling like I just want to put a sweater on. If you aren't sure which color to get, I would go with the classic black leotard. Leotards last you a very long time, so I would recommend that you purchase one that you think you'll be happy with for a while. So the next thing that you would need are ballet tights. Quick note about ballet tights, you do not wear underwear underneath the tights. It might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but I promise you will get used to it. When you're shopping, you usually have the option between convertible or full-footed tights. I would highly recommend going with the convertible tights. They're the ones with the hole at the bottom so you can have access to your feet for whatever reason, maybe like cutting your toenails because you realize they are too long, or just wearing sandals after class. So when you buy ballet tights, there's usually a chart in the back of the pair of tights, a sizing chart that goes by weight and height. And if you're in between sizes, I would highly recommend you sizing up. Don't be intimidated into thinking that the pair of tights could be too large for you. If you have ever opened up a new pair of ballet tights, they essentially look like pants for tall babies. I would highly recommend getting more tights than leotards. Tights will run or get holes in them, and sometimes you can try to save the pair of tights by using clear nail polish on the area that is dying, but sometimes you can't get to it in time. My personal favorite ballet tights ever is the Capezio Ultra Soft Self-Knit Waistband Tights in Ballet Pink. I personally really love these pair of tights because they're soft, they're extremely durable, and the waistband does not dig into my stomach, so that when I take off the tights, I don't have this line on my skin. I went into my closet and I literally found 4 new packages of the tights. Like, this is how much I like them. All right, so now let's move on to the ballet slippers. Out of everything that I've mentioned earlier, if you were to buy one thing from this list, I would highly recommend you buying the ballet slippers. They are not that important if you're only doing bar work, but eventually you will do more center work and you will do turns, and it is very difficult to turn if you do not have the correct shoes. So when you go shopping for ballet flats, you will have the option between full sole and split sole shoes. I've noticed that a lot of folks have said that the full sole shoes are really good for strengthening. There is a little extra piece of fabric where your arch is, and the idea is that maybe you work harder because you have to push through that piece of fabric. To be honest, I can't really imagine that piece of fabric making a difference at all in how strong your feet are. If you're an adult, I would highly recommend you just buying split sole shoes. I really don't buy the idea that full sole shoes somehow strengthen your feet. They just make your arch look a little baggy. And the next option you will have is between leather and canvas shoes. I have worn both. When I first started, I think a lot of folks were saying that the leather shoes last a little bit longer, but I have had both and I really don't see a difference. My preference right now is actually canvas shoes. My favorite pair of ballet slippers that I've ever had are the Angelo Luzio shoes. They fit very well for my wide feet, and they have very nice thick padding, so I get that little bit of support on the ball of my feet. I would highly recommend you going into a dance shop and trying on some ballet flats. Ballet slipper sizing and street shoe sizing usually don't line up. For example, I'm an 8.5 in my street shoe size, but in my Angelo Luzio, I am a 6.5, and I think in blocks, I'm a 6C or D. So to save yourself the hassle of having to return shoes, I would just go into a dance shop and just ask somebody for assistance so that you can get fitted for the perfect shoe. So now we are going to go into the extras, things that I think are still very good to have if you're new to ballet. So the first thing I would say is you definitely need a water bottle. I'm not gonna say more about that. I'm sure that's pretty straightforward. And the next thing I'd recommend is a ballet bag for you to keep all your items in. Nothing fancy is needed. You can either use a tote bag or a backpack. The third thing I recommend is a foot powder. Your feet will eventually smell, and this helps a lot. My fourth recommendation is a ballet skirt. It is definitely not necessary, but just a fun cover-up to have. So there are 2 types of ballet skirts usually: a wrap style ballet skirt that you wrap around yourselves, or an elastic pull-on kind. The wrap kind is great because the size of the waist is very adjustable, and the elastic type kind is just easy because you don't really have to adjust anything, you just pull it on. Right now I wear a white mesh skirt, and I honestly didn't realize how see-through it was until I received it in the mail. I felt so silly, like I just bought the most expensive piece of tissue paper in the world. But I realized that the white skirt has actually been really helpful because it's so sheer, the teacher has a much easier time seeing my alignment. And the last extra that I would recommend are leg warmers. During the winter, I actually wear leg warmers for the first 45 minutes of the class because I can never warm up fast enough. And I really like having the super long leg warmers, the one that go past your knees, just because whenever you get too hot, you can always roll them down a little bit. All right, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to me blab about ballet stuff. I hope my suggestions were helpful. There's so many new brands of leotards and tights nowadays that I really can't keep up. So if I didn't mention a brand that you personally like, let me know. I'm always curious about trying all the new ballet stuff that's in the market. All right, I will see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.